money anymore. That's the main reason. So it will stay topless forever. It's a bit too cold for it. That's beginning 20th century. This for the post office with the small brick van maybe there. It's a mix of styles. Of the same architect is the bridge. That was once a small swing bridge. But like many cities, we organize a world exhibition. 1913, bad timing. Not so many visitors. It was a bit war in most people's head. So we don't have the money for Eiffel Tower and Crystal Palace, but a lot of restyling was done in Ghent. The towers were set free then and then a big bridge to create that lovely view. What we will tell some more when we coming back home. You have to look on the right, there's like a postcard. These lovely houses of the rich corporations, the working class. Guild houses we call them. One of the most beautiful is the one with the little boat on top of the door next to the post office. The type of boat that Columbus used, he discovered a new world. And it was built some decades later, and it's from 1531, House of the Ghent shippers. Had very long monopoly on transport of goods. There was a very small house, there was the toll collector. He was replaced every 6 months to avoid corruption. Also in those days. And then the oldest facade with the hamburger restaurant Manhattans, that is limestone also, the bluestone, but Romanesque style. That's from end 12th century. That was a stack house for grain, from the Latin spicarium, spica. There were 150 of these in there. Now you can't see it very well, but the facade is a bit like this. The bends a bit forward, because the tons of grain had to move up, otherwise they scratch the wall, which don't like that. It's really one of the oldest in the world in the Romanesque style. It's not a church, it's a civil architecture. Shippers from abroad were the unfree shippers, and a lovely house on the left-hand side with anchors, dolphins, very big eyes for dolphins. Maybe the architect never saw the dolphins. That's the Baroque style. Ones that was a wooden facade, so they had not so many privileges, but later than 18th century in stone. Here we are, that's where we live on the left-hand side. So around. We meet here, but first we're going on the tour, but we have 1 hour free time. But we meet again. We want to. Quarter past 1 we meet every time. The Riviera Summer Bar, that's open since last weekend. It's the 3rd time they do it, but it's still October. Then we also had an Indian summer in winter, the last year. That's one of the 7 waterways. The Lieve, the lovely, the very first canal to the North Sea, handmade canal in the 13th century. In those days, the abbeys in Ghent had property in England. It was the shortest way to England. And the wool came from there. The core business was cloth making. That's how we got so rich then. And 12th century were 60,000 inhabitants in Amsterdam were only 1,000 people. So it was, after Paris, the 2nd largest city north of the Alps. In 14th, the English knew that it was good wool. They started to weave themselves, and linen became more important. There's a lot of flax at the banks of the river Leie. Flax, a plant, raw material for linen. It's an open, once it was an open air there, left-hand side was a fish market. Sea fish was sold there, along the river Leie. Since 15 years, tourist information center also. There's more alcoholic corner. Like gin, we say Geneve, made of grain. The English word comes from the Dutch word this time. But in the Ghent language, we have our own language. There are more than 10 words for gin, so alcoholism was a small problem. People drunk out of misery. In that little pub you can taste more than 100 different kinds. If you do it, you're dead. Twice. This is the water house at the Beer Kingdom in Belgium. Beers, well, the other side is a very nice facade of the 18th century, in the Louis XV style. It was the house of the wine traders, and there was a wooden crane next to it. You still see it on drawings. Barrels of wine came by boat from the Bordeaux and the Loire region along the coastline to Ostende, Bruges, and then the Coupure to Ghent. So that's why they needed a crane. Downstairs are wine cellars. In the Middle Ages we had our own vineyards here in Ghent. There's still one. The garden of the Abbey of St. Peter's, a vineyard. There used to be much more. It suddenly stops. And 15. Some say due to the climate, it's not sure, but this, I guess, 1-2 degrees colder than what it was with Napoleon. At the same moment, and 15th century, we couldn't use that little canal to the sea anymore, it's sanded in. The city of Damme, where it goes to, was no longer at the North Sea. So it was a catastrophe, and 15th, we no longer have a sea harbor. Antwerp and Amsterdam became much more important. That were the first cities with more than 100,000 inhabitants. Here there always stays 60,000. There's a very nice and old neighborhood on your left-hand side. It's the only one with all narrow alleys. You won't get lost there. The Hall of the Monks, Pater's Hall, is the name of this neighborhood. In fact, Ghent is on the right hand, it's an island. So these neighborhoods, left-hand side, belong to the castle of the Counts of Flanders. So it was also for people of nobility, clergy, people who worked for the counts. Later, lawyers and councillors. The castle was very long, Supreme Court of Justice. In the 19th, everywhere were factories. Also in Gravensteen is the castle, the factory. So that all local workers live here. But it stays like that. Today it's a colorful and trendy neighborhood with some of the top restaurants, but quite expensive. Normal monks, there is an old monastery of the Carmelites. Their church is an exhibition hall. That's the Museum of the Good Old Days, Huis van Alleen. That's of the 14th century. These are little houses with a courtyard and a chapel. It looks like a beguinage. We also have 3 beguinages in Ghent. Flanders is quite famous for that. But it looks like that. It's different. A God's house is sometimes charity. In 14th century, rich families do something for orphans, poor people. You could buy heaven by doing that. In Ghent, there were 27 of these, and we only keep 2. That's the Museum of the Good Old Days. For 2. And you can't ignore it, of course, the industry, you see the scenery changes now. Well, we also have very ugly apartment blocks, like the one in front of then the 50s and 60s. Or you can make a romantic boat tour, lovely boats on your left-hand side, originally from Bangladesh, not from Venice. Venice of the North, what they say about Bruges, goes with for Ghent. Not anymore. That used to have much more water in there, more canals. Victor Hugo, the French writer, was in Ghent in 1838.